let's do the slope for 8 and 9. So to start, okay, these are the two kinds of lines we talked about where we have 0 in the bottom or 0 in the top of the fraction. So looking at this line, let's start at this point. Let's label this one A and this one B. Remember, it doesn't matter which direction you go, we're still going to get the same answer. So the first direction that you have to count is Y direction. What is the Y direction in this one to get from A towards B? What's our Y direction?
Page 7.
We what?
Page 7.
Oh, this is page 14. What's my Y direction? Do I have to move in my Y at all? No. So what letter or number represents not moving? 0. So right here, I'm going to put my change in Y is equal to 0 because we're not going up or down. But we are moving left or right. So how many units in the X direction are we moving? Just 2. 1, 2. I'm only going to move 2 to get to B.
Oh, 4.
Yeah, I got to go to B. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I got to go all the way to B. I got to go from A to B. So my change in X is equal to positive or negative 4 if I went to the right. Positive 4. If you went to the left, it would be negative 4. So for our slope, what number do we put on top? The 0, the Y is on top, over what? 4. What kind of slope do we have if 0 is in the numerator of our fraction? This is a 0 slope. Now, if you recognize that the slope is 0, you don't have to count it because regardless of what number you have on the bottom, the answer will always be 0. So the slope of any horizontal line is 0. So I'm going to teach you a trick. If the line is horizontal, you can envision the letter Z for 0. So any horizontal line will always give you a slope of 0. Any horizontal line will always give you a slope of 0. It does not matter where the horizontal line is. It could be down here. As long as it's horizontal, the slope is always 0. So you don't even have to count it. It's going to be 0. Let's try the next one. So let's make this bottom letter A, or the bottom dot A and the top B. Okay. So Y direction first. How many in the Y do we go? 4. So if I'm going up, 1, 2, 3, 4, or I could go down and it would be negative 4. So my change in Y, in this case, is positive 4. What's our change in X? 0. So I'm just going to write it down here. My change in X is 0 because I'm not moving left or right. I'm only going up and down. What does our fraction look like? If this one's going to be undefined, but let's put the numbers in there first. 4 over 0. Anytime 0 is in the bottom, that fraction is undefined. Okay. So anytime you don't need to count, so if you have a problem and the line is vertical up and down, it says what's the slope? It's just going to be undefined. You don't have to put this numerical fraction. That's just what the answer is. It's just undefined. Now you can do the same kind of trick here. I'm using a purple highlighter. It kind of doesn't look purple on the screen. It looks a little pink. So if you're using pink for this line, you can make it look like a U for undefined. So horizontal is Z for 0. Vertical is U for undefined. Okay? So those are the two types of slopes that you really don't have to count. You just have to look at them.
Yes.
Yeah. Right here.
Do you have
Here.
Yes.
what's
9, 4.
Thank you.
All right, let's do page 15. We're going to learn a new equation. So we've already learned y equals mx plus b, or slope-intercept form. Now we're going to learn point-slope form. So the things that you need to remember when we name equations of lines, we're not just naming them random. Okay, there's a reason. We name equations of lines based on the things you need to graph them. So slope-intercept form is called that because I need a slope and a y-intercept to graph. Point-slope form is called point-slope form because I need a point and a slope to graph it. So the names of the lines are named after what I need to put them on a graph. Okay. Does anyone remember? I need to stop graphing. Does anyone remember what point-slope looks like? The equation for point-slope. Point-slope. Y equals mx plus b is slope-intercept. So this one has lots of letters in it. Y minus y1, Gabe's taking notes, equals m parenthesis x minus x1. Now this equation has a lot more stuff in it. Okay? It's just as easy as slope-intercept form, as long as you kind of know what is happening. So the point that we're working with here is x1, comma, y1. That's our point. So remember how we labeled slope? We put the little one and the little twos after things. This is the same idea. Okay? The x1, y1 just means my first set of points. My first set. So the ones just mean group one, which means these two, the y and the x that have no numbers, these just stay in my problem. They're never going to change. They're just going to stay there, okay? The letter M is going to stand for my slope. So in my problem, I have my point and I have my slope. The x1 value is the x coordinate of my equation. And notice these are always minus, okay? Always minus. My y1 value, and my y1 value is always going to be the y point on my equation. Okay? So y1 is always here. It goes with y. Notice how we're not highlighting regular y and regular x. They stay there. Only the ones with ones. M is still slope. So my slope here is still m, just like before. So this is called point-slope form because I need a point and I need a slope to graph it. That's all we do to name lines. We name them with what we need to graph. We name them with what we need to graph. Okay? So it's called point-slope because I need a point and a slope. Slope-intercept is called that because I need slope and a y-intercept. We name the equation based on what we need to graph it. So the easy part of this problem is just I'm going to give us a point and a slope. We just need to plug it in. Okay. So the first thing I would do is write my equation. Y minus y1 equals m parenthesis x minus x1. Writing the equation, especially this one because it's tricky, writing this equation makes it a lot easier to plug in, especially with the negatives. The next thing I would do is label my points so I don't plug them in incorrectly. So how do I label 6, negative 2? Which one's x? 6 is x. What has to go after the x? X what? X1. Then what's negative 2? Y1. Yeah, the ones mean group 1. That's all they mean. They have no other significance other than first set of points. So I'll zoom into that so we can see it a little closer. Okay? We've already got slope. It's labeled n. So now I can substitute. Y minus, so what is my y1 value? -2. And when I substitute, I'm not just going to put a 2, I'm going to put a -2. Now, just like in slope, oh, that smeared. Oh well. Just like in slope, if I've got the double negative, you can write positive. Good, you can write a positive. I will do that in just a second. If you're comfortable doing it, you can go ahead and do it now. What do we put in slope's place? I didn't, it smeared. So what up it? 3/5. My slope here is 3/5. So I'm going to replace m with 3/5. Let that dry for a second so it doesn't smear. Let's see if it will. No? Okay. What is the inside of my parentheses going to look like?
X1.
Okay, x minus x1. So what am I going to substitute? When I substitute, what does it look like? X minus 6. Good job. Okay. X minus 6. So all I did was I took my x1 value and then I replaced it with what its value is. Now, if you are comfortable with changing the double negative to positive right here, you can. If not, you can always rewrite it. So I kind of ran out of room. So I'm going to write it kind of small right here. Y plus 2 equals 3/5 parenthesis x minus 6. So your final answer is here. It's got the plus symbol. Again, if you want to change it as you go, totally fine. If you don't and want to write it again, that's okay too. All right, so do 2 and 3. 2 and 3. Okay. You can do it. We're going to start with 2 and 3.